What's going on, guys? Jabba Swifty here, aka Jabba, and in my recent quantum crystal farming video, I received this comment here from Hobo with an Accent. Now, this got me wondering, is he right? Is he correct? Is Steroland's Kuiper Mine a more efficient farm? So I did what any good content creator would do. I switched to my farming build, made sure me and my fellow were matching, shook hands, and we put it to the test because
I'm a content creator.
Okay, so to test this out, I ran both missions 3 hours each. I recorded the amount of quantum crystals I got for each run. I averaged them out. I sprinkled in some pros and cons, and I also gave my personal thoughts on the data that I collected just to make this a well-rounded experiment.
I'm something of a scientist myself.
Without further ado, let's get to the first location. Okay, so up first is Steroland's Kuiper Mine. Now, my main con with this mission is how long it was taking me to actually start the 5-minute farm. You know, from the starting location, getting into the cave, killing that first initial wave of enemies, starting up the Kuiper machine, waiting for the Kuiper balls to spawn, and then the enemies spawning in, starting that 5-minute timer. This was taking anywhere between 28 to 30 seconds to start. Now, that may not seem like a big deal, but a lot of the most efficient farms in the first Ascendant only take around 20-30 seconds to complete. So as I was doing this, I was thinking in my head, this takes me one full mission to even start this 5-minute farm. Now, as far as the pros, this is one of the laziest farms that you can do, and I'm a huge fan. I love lazy farming. If you can essentially go AFK outside of public matchmaking while farming, I will do it every time. And you can do just that with this mission. I was watching Comics Explain with Rob breaking down the DC Absolute Universe, which is fire right now. But anyway, all the enemies spawn in one centralized location. So if you're using Freyna, you have some extension mods, so that way the asset pulls last a little bit longer in between enemy spawns. You can stand in one spot, let your fellow run around, and you're going to reap the benefits of this mission for sure. All right, so now it's time for the results of the Steroland Kuiper Mine. Okay, so for our first hour, we have 32,188. In our second hour, we raked in 31,716. And our third hour, being our most lucrative, was 34,528, which brings us to a total of 98,432, with an average of 32,810 quantum crystals per hour. Now, seeing as though you need 65,000 quantum crystals to craft 100 precision ion accelerators to then craft 20 dimension analyzers, if you were to target farm Kuiper Mine for 3 hours straight, you would be able to upgrade your reactor one time, which I do not recommend.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not.
All right, so Steroland's Kuiper Mine out of the way, we're going to move over just west to our next location.
Been ambushed? Or did you let it happen?
All right, guys, so Steroland's anticipated ambush point. I'm not going to go into too much detail about this farming location because I do have an entire video on it. But my biggest con with this one would probably be the fact that you can't go as AFK as you can in Kuiper Mine. The enemies do spawn in different locations, but they are still centralized. It's all right around you. You don't have to run anywhere to actually kill the enemies. Now, my biggest pro with this mission is how fast you can complete it. It only takes an average of 30 seconds to do this mission. And if you are playing as Freyna, you can drop a pool of acid where the boss spawns, jump back to the start point. By the time you even arrive, the boss will die. You can start the mission again, rinse and repeat, you're farming. All right, guys, let's get to the results. So for Steroland's anticipated ambush point, in our first hour, we received 50,453. In our second hour, we received 51,496. And in our third hour, we received 50,336 quantum crystals, which brings us to a total of 152,285 and an average of 50,761 quantum crystals. So with these numbers, you can craft 2-dimension analyzers, so you can upgrade 2 different reactors or take a reactor from level 3 to level 4, and that's going to be around an 18,000 difference in the average of quantum crystals you can get between the 2 locations. All right, so with that, Hobo with an Accent, les deux frémoches sacré bleu. I have no idea what I just said. But anyway, that's going to be a difference of 53,853 between the 2 totals in favor of anticipated ambush point. Now, guys, I love the comments as we build this community together. Please comment. It gives me video ideas. We get to interact with each other. So all of this is in good spirit, man. But there's a couple things that I noticed that I did want to talk about between these 2 farms. So one of the first things I noticed with Kuiper Mine was the spawn rates of the enemies seemed to differ between my runs. Now, granted, I'm not tripping. It seemed as if though I had runs where the enemy was spawning wave after wave, and then I had runs where it was taking a couple seconds between those enemies popping back up, and I found myself having to reapply the poison. But again, if I'm not tripping, that probably needs to be fixed, or that's just the way that this farm is. Another thing that I did notice was the reactor drop rate seemed lower. I'm telling you, I would be standing there for a solid 10, 15 seconds killing wave after wave of enemies, and I wouldn't get a reactor. It just would not drop. I don't know if that has to do with the fact that the farm is 5 minutes and the game kind of knows it's 5 minutes, so they drop less reactors because there's more time. I don't know, but I for sure noticed the fact that I was not getting that many reactors. And the last thing that I noticed during this adventure, I was able to calculate just how many enemies you're actually killing per mission. Now with Kuiper Mine, you seem to be getting anywhere between 200 to 230 enemies plus or minus, but with Anticipated Ambush Point, you're getting around 37 enemies, and you can do this mission 10 times in 5 minutes. So that's over 150 plus more enemies you're killing in Anticipated Ambush Points. So more enemies, more drops, more quantum crystals. And that's going to do it for this video, guys. I'm Jabba Swifty, aka Jabba. If you found this video helpful, entertaining, life-changing, hit the like button, hit subscribe, and I hope to see you guys in the next one.